City of Maitland Council meeting for June 13th, 2022. A reminder to everybody up here as well as in the audience to please silence your electronic devices. This evening we do not have an invocation, and as you will notice, I am not John Lowndes. He is away, and so I am sitting in his stead. So we will have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. If everyone is able and willing to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. First up on the agenda tonight, we have two presentations. The first one is going to be from Scott Howard, who is the Chief of Communications with Orange County Public Schools. You're going to give us an update on the continuation of the additional ad valorem millage of 1 mil for 4 more years. This is also going to be an item on the August 23rd primary ballot.
Good. Just, yeah. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you for having me here today to speak. I appreciate you indulging me again. I know several of you have already heard this presentation, and I will try to hit some of the highlights and also maybe add in a couple of extra small factoids to go along with this. But we'll go through this quickly, and I think it's important as we move forward just to make sure that everybody is on the same page and really understands from the perspective of what this will mean for Orange County Public Schools and the impact that it's had. And my role is really to educate, not to advocate. So I'm here to give you a better understanding of the impact that the 1 mil ad valorem has had on Orange County Public Schools. So I'll get right into it. Again, my name's Scott Howard. I'm the Chief Communications Officer for Orange County Schools. I graduated from Orange County Public Schools. I worked for Orange County Public Schools for 30 years. I was a teacher and administrator and worked downtown doing a number of different jobs. So I've everything from school doing the legislative and congressional work for the district to school planning and siting. So, and now I do communications for the district. But I've been involved in this education effort since 2010. Talking about the 1 mil. So just going through this to give you an idea, the vision and mission of the school district is really focused obviously on the success of our students, and we really can't do that without the support of our families and communities that lead our students to success. That's why I'm here. That's why we're talking to other community groups and to commissions. Give you a little idea, the school district employs 24,576 employees. Over 14,000 of those employees are teachers. That's about 58% of our total employment are teachers. We're the 9th largest district in the United States. We're the 4th largest in Florida, behind Miami-Dade, Broward, and Hillsborough County over in the Tampa area. Our student enrollment in 2010, when the 1 mil ad valorem first passed, was below 180,000 students. Now we're over 206,000, and you can see how it really has accelerated in the climb. Although it affected and impacted by the recession, you can see the leveling off, and then the acceleration after the end of the recession, and then you can see the impact in 2017 of Hurricane Maria and students coming here from Puerto Rico. In 2000, or the 206,000 actually represents a number from this past October. We're actually ended the school year at 208,000. So the pandemic, while there was a dip, there was certainly acceleration after that. Our schools, we have 205 schools currently. Next year we'll have 210 schools. Of course, there's 3 that are right here in Maitland that are so important to the education of the residents here and in the surrounding areas. We actually added 2 new high schools this year, Lake Buena Vista High School and Horizon High. First time in ever, I think, that we added 2 high schools in 1 year. We will add, again, 5 new schools next year. Our students come from very diverse backgrounds, 208 countries, 166 dialects. About 13% of our students are English language learners. That means that English is not their first language, and they come to us obviously going through ELL program, our English language learning program, or ESOL programs. Socioeconomic status, since 2013, it's our free and reduced lunch students have increased by 9.5% over that time. So you can see there's been a steady increase in the number of students that are needing or claiming or qualifying for free and reduced lunch. While this actually tracks along with the poverty level, it doesn't represent the poverty level. Poverty level, while being in the 30 percentile for Orange County, there's a much lower threshold for receiving free and reduced lunch meals, and you can see the need is definitely there. 75% of our students are qualifying. Speaking of meals, 47 million meals served last year. That's 18% more than the prior year. That is a lot of meals. 213,000 meals per day on average. That's more than the 5 entertainment parks in Orlando serve in any given day. And we only serve breakfast and lunch, so you can see the scope and magnitude of that food service. Transportation, we run 619 buses. That's 2.5 times larger than Lynx. It's larger than Atlanta Metro, Dallas Metro, LA Metro, any of the major metro areas. Our bus service is larger than 13.7 million miles a year. One bus takes 48 cars off the road. That's 29,000 cars a day that are not on the road because the buses are transporting children to and from school. I've said before, if you're sitting behind a bus and that guardrail's up and you're sitting there, just be patient, because you could be behind 48 additional cars instead of that one bus. So I always think about that, but while I'm letting those students get on and off. Very proud of our finance department and our procurement department. We've won a number of awards and certificates. We actually, our district credit rating remains high. We don't borrow money, but if we had to during any given time, we certainly could do that. And we have a very high rating, which has stayed steady throughout the recession and the pandemic. One other thing of note, we won the Sterling Award twice for our operations division, which is it's the operational efficiency award that the state gives through the Governor Sterling Award. And we've won it once for HR, for our human resources. We actually won the National Malcolm Baldrige Award, which is what the Sterling Award is for efficiency. And the superintendent went just recently, within the last several months, to DC to accept that award from the Baldrige Foundation. As far as efficiency, we have the lowest administrative cost per student of the 7 largest school districts in Florida. We're actually 8th of the 67 school districts in Florida. We have a digital device distribution program where every student receives a digital device. We've distributed over 200,000 of those since the pandemic, and even dating back to 2013 when we started our program. During the pandemic, we had about 68 schools that did not have devices. We accelerated our cohorts, which were supposed to roll out by 2021. Every student in every school had devices by September of 2020. And that was in light of supply chain issues, everyone wanting computers to be able to work from home and during the shutdown, and we were able to do that. Graduation rate in 2000 was less than 50%. Today it's at 98.4% amongst our traditional high schools, and amongst all of our high schools, including our non-traditional alternative schools and charters, it's 90.4%. So we're very proud of that. That doesn't happen because of one thing, that happens because of many things, and primarily what's happening at the school level, what teachers are doing, what our what our administrators are doing, what our guidance counselors are doing, what we're doing to create those individual learning opportunities for our students and move them through the process. We're very proud of that. It's kind of the ultimate KPI for us when it comes to measuring our success. I had a video here of a student actually from Winter Park that you probably won't be able to hear very well. I'll skip across, but we do 22 great grad videos every year, and just not necessarily the valedictorian or salutatorian, but a student that has a great story, has something that they've accomplished, and so all 22 schools have one, and they're on social media, and just a great grad story, because it's not about, obviously you can look at the overall number, but really about the individual students that we impact throughout their career. We're an A school district, 24 school districts in Florida. We're one of 24 of the 67 that are an A-rated school district. We have our national accreditation from Cognia. We are reaccredited in 2021. One of a handful of districts nationally that actually get a national accreditation. Most of the time accreditations take place school by school, and we've done the national accreditation the last 2 5-year cycles. Very proud of our arts and athletic programs, primarily because of the 1 mil. We've been able to continue to offer those. We have middle school athletics in all of our middle schools. We have all of our high schools offer all of the FHSAA sanctioned or high school association sanctioned sports. Freshmen and JV, if they're offered, that's thanks to the 1 mil. Our arts programs, we have a higher percentage of our students in the arts than any other of the large urban school districts as far as percentage of students participating. And that's across the board. Every single one of our schools have an arts program, and that's thanks really to the 1 mil and the additional revenue that's come through that. We're very proud of that, and it truly is access for all when it comes to the arts because of that. Here's some of our students in competition over the last year in visual and performing. We're one of the best communities for music education, is named by the NAM Foundation. That's 6 years in a row. Our arts department is very proud of that accomplishment and to be able to continue that each year. I'll tell you a little bit about our budget. So our budget is 51% state revenue, 49% local revenue. Our revenue is $1.8 billion. Our total budget is $2.2. Of course, we have 25,000 employees. We're the largest and third largest employer in Orange County. We're a very large operation. 9% of that budget is the 1 mil ad valorem. The first time it was approved in 2010 by 54%. It was continued in 2014 by 76%, and 84% yes in 2018. Here's where the money goes. It's spent $86 million on 1,100 plus teachers, $55 million on art, dance, drama, and music teachers. We spent $7.7 on athletics, $195,000 on student activities. That was low because this year was the pandemic year. We didn't do field trips or after school tutorials. It's actually about $2 million is what we budget out of the other areas for that purpose. And then charter schools get a proportionate share, and they have since the inception of the 1 mil special millage ad valorem. It's about $162 million it generates that year, and this year it'll be about $170 million. So this is what it looks like, our per student funding going back to 2010. You can see in 2010 you can see the CPI line, the Consumer Price Index, at about 7,500. That's where we were before the recession. Our per student funding dropped about $1,000 per student. Because of that drop, you can see the delta between that and the CPI line. What the board said is this is continuing to drop. We cannot continue to offer the programs and continue to do what we're doing for students. We have to do something else to generate our revenue. They don't set their own millage rates. So there was no ability, the legislature does that. The only thing they could do was to opt to go to the voters for 1 mil. And this is what the 1 mil has done in order to slowly increase along with the CPI and provide some buffer to that over $1,700 per student loss, which would have happened had the 1 mil not been in place. Here's the millage rates. I mentioned that earlier. In 2010, it was 5.425 mils. They're at 3.54 mils now, about 1.88 mils below where they were in 2010. Had they just left the millage rate, the legislature left the millage rate where it was in 2010, I wouldn't be standing here. The gap would be completely filled. That 1.88 mils would have filled the gap. Instead, the continuation is necessary. You can see where the legislature actually rolled back the millage starting in FY16 considerably, and they were doing it, they were rolling it back as property values and as more property came on the rolls and the values increased. They rolled it back, but they never filled it with enough state revenue to make up the difference, and you can see it in the budget. Here's the proposed ballot language. The main difference between this ballot language and previous, other than the dates, is that the board really wanted to focus on compensating teachers and support staff. Teacher salaries, beginning teacher salary was moved from $40,000 to $47,500. That caused a 12-year compression of salary. So you have 12 years experienced teachers that are making the same as a beginning teacher. They address that with some federal money that will run out in the next 2 years, and so trying to address that over the next 4 years in order to try to bolster some of the experience salary is helpful. Same thing with support staff and the $15 per hour. We have to, under legislation recently passed, get our support staff to at least $15 per hour. Again, compression issues are happening there, and we're able to give some additional supplement for through this, if it were to pass, in order to help take care of our experienced and skilled staff as well. So here's what the 1 mil looks like with the 1 mil, and then what it would look like if we didn't have the 1 mil. You can see the $1,700 delta with the 4 years after. This is based on a 3% yearly estimated increase in CPI and increase in revenue. We know that this past month we had over 8% inflation rate, so we're presuming a 3%, but it's looking like it'll be much higher than that. In summary, August 23rd primary ballot proposal. Just to give you an idea, the cost to an average homeowner, now medium assessed home in Orange County is $229,000. Okay, the medium assessed value is not what it's on Zillow or Realtor.com or what you could sell it for tomorrow. This is the medium assessment. It's what your house would be valued and what you're assessed on. We verified this. In fact, I had to check it 3 times just to make sure it was accurate, but it is. We received it back from them. So if you back out the $25,000 per homestead, it's $204 per year. That's $17 per month. Since 2010, in 2010 it was $11 per month for the average homeowner. It's gone up $6 over the last 12 years. So a very minimal investment to get the maximum gain, and what we've been able to do with that as far as our arts programs, athletics, retaining teachers, and now maybe compensating them. It will be for essential operating expenses to preserve academic programs, athletics, and the arts. And here's the deadlines to vote, in case, I know you all are aware of this, but primary election day is the 23rd, and we know a lot of ballots will be cast before then, and so we want to make sure we get the word out. And that's my presentation. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Howard. Thank you very much for
My
that.
Vice
Does anyone
Mayor.
have any questions? All right. Thank you so much for coming this evening.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you for
appreciate
having me. I
Very
appreciate it.
informative.
Thank you for indulging.
Okay, our second presentation tonight is going to be from Emily Hanna, who is the executive director with Best Foot Forward, a Bike Walk Central Florida nonprofit program. And Emily is going to do a presentation for us on the background of the program, the scope of services, and the program's future. And we also have some cool bumper stickers and flyers.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you guys can hear me without the microphone. My name is Emily Hanna. I'm the Executive Director of Bike Walk Central Florida. We are a nonprofit advocacy organization that promotes walking and cycling here in Central Florida. We also promote and advocate for the rollability of our communities, for those mothers with strollers, with those in handicap or wheelchair, or those that just want to scoot around. That seems to be the new micromobility choice option these days. So we try to support all those active modes of transportation at Bike Walk. But I'm here today to talk to you about our pedestrian safety program, Best Foot Forward. And I'm going to go a little bit into details about what that program entails and all the data and great analytics that we bring to our community. So, unfortunately, Bike Walk Central Florida was created, one, because we have a distinct need in our community, and we have an issue. We have an epidemic that's been happening for the last 10 years, kind of silently in the United States, but really specifically here in Central Florida. And that is, we are dangerous by design. So in 2010, Smart Growth America came out with a report called Dangerous by Design that basically looked at traffic fatalities related to pedestrians within major metropolitan areas. And they did this based on the percentage of people that walk and bike to work, so a very select group of people, based on the total population. And unfortunately, we were the most dangerous for those that did have to walk and bike to work. And so that's really what put kind of the needs in Central Florida kind of on that spotlight and that map. And that's when Bike Walk Central Florida was formed, and we started working on programs and advocacy to try to move the needle and change that dangerous behavior, both for pedestrians and cyclists, but also for our motorists that have to move around our community. But why are we the most dangerous? Really, why am I here talking about this today? Well, it's a couple of different things. One, we're very careless drivers, let's be honest. We have cell phones and they're always buzzing or talking to us. We're constantly looking at the map, where are we going? There are new roads created every day, right? We really just don't pay attention necessarily. We have lots of distractions than we've ever had before. And we also sometimes carelessly walk, right? We will just step out in the road without maybe looking right, left, right before we cross the road. But ultimately it comes down to how we design our communities. And we design them primarily for that automobile, that vehicle, to come into that site and to leave that site, but don't necessarily talk about how that business, how that site necessarily treats somebody that's walking to it or cycling to it. How does it treat the human that's interacting with that site? So we talk about how we have lately had some careless design in how we site buildings or site our communities, and we want to be able to change that. So that's a part of what Bike Walk does. So we advocate to make communities more walkable, bikeable, and rollable in our Central Florida community. You guys are not strangers to this. You have changed your comprehensive plan and your land development codes to support just the things I'm talking about today, and have a beautiful complete street right outside to showcase all the efforts that you guys have taken. But Best Foot Forward Pedestrian Safety Program is about changing driver behavior, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that today. But something else you might be familiar with is our Bike 5 Cities Advocacy Bicycle Ride we host every year. The city of Maitland has been an integral part of that event. We kicked that off in 2017, I believe, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. But 5 cities in Central Florida are involved with that. City of Castleberry, City of Orlando, Maitland, Eatonville, and Winter Park. And so every year we have this event go around 28 miles throughout the community. You will hear and see more about that. That is going to be October 29th this year. So look for more information on our website, on the city's website. We definitely want you guys to get involved. But I'm really here to talk about Best Foot Forward and that pedestrian behavior and the driver behavior change that we're hoping to make with that program. And it started with looking at what other people are doing across the country. And NHTSA came out with a study in 2010 that showed that through high visibility enforcement and through a 4E approach, you can actually change driver behavior. And that is what the Best Foot Forward program is situated on. It's based on this kind of 4E approach to change that driver behavior. And I'm going to talk about all the E's, starting with evaluation. So how do we tell whether or not a driver is going to yield to somebody in a crosswalk? Well, we go out and measure that. But you don't just jump in front of the car, right? That's so dangerous. Don't do that. We do something called measuring a dilemma zone. And what this dilemma zone does is based on the speed limit of the roadway, we put a flag or a marker. Advanced pedestrian warning signs usually meet this distance, but it's the safe stopping distance the driver needs to make to come to a complete stop and yield to that pedestrian in that crosswalk. So based on whatever the speed limit is, we always add 5 miles because we know nobody's really doing the speed limit these days. And so we measure that distance. And if it's 150 feet, we drop that flag. And then our data collector, which usually represents your community, we hire UCF students and retirees, school crossing guards, and we pay pretty well, I think. And they go out and they cross the road 60 times in one sitting. They'll go out in the morning across 20 times, they'll go out later on in the afternoon, maybe when school gets out and they'll cross, and then right at like kind of the, not so much dusk because we want to be careful of visibility for lighting environments, but we go out right before it gets dark to see what the driver yield rates are when kind of rush hour is happening, right? And we take an average of that driver yield rate. And here's a couple examples of some of the baseline yield rates that we have in Orange County. So Woodbury Road and Mallory Circle came out at 8%. That means if 100 cars were to pass me at a crosswalk, only 8 drivers would actually stop and let me cross the road. 8 of them. And it's worse in Oak Ridge and Tampa Ave. Only 4% of those drivers are going to stop. And so that's why we need the other 3 E's that I'm going to talk about to help change driver behavior when they see a pedestrian enter a crosswalk or approach a crosswalk. So we use the data that we collect first and foremost to have conversations with our traffic engineering folks, public works, or planning. And we say, hey, look, if you had a stop bar or if you have some other type of signage, this historically will improve the driver yield rate. We've been collecting enough of this data throughout the county that we can kind of show you trends now with our data, show you what signs work, what striping works. We know we're not going to rebuild our communities overnight. It took us 50 years to build what we have, and we need to be able to come up with low cost and quick engineering solutions to be able to provide safe crossings for everyone. And these are all the locations in which we collect data in the 3-county region. So Seminole County, Osceola County, and Orange County are partners along with City of Orlando and many other cities here. Winter Park was just added recently. But we really monitor over 75 crosswalks in the 3-county region, which is a lot of data that we then analyze and give back to you as the community and say, hey, this is what Winter Park's doing and they saw success. Or this is what your neighbor in Castleberry is doing and they saw success. And we bring everybody together in what we call a coalition. And we actually operate the largest grassroots pedestrian coalition in the country. So we really try to engage and get everybody involved with what are these simple solutions that we can have to improve pedestrian safety in our community. So I'm going to play this video real quick. This is a good news story about our operations. We have 4 operations every year called Best Foot Forward, and they go out and they warn and cite drivers that do not, that violate that driver yield law, and I will show you how we do it here.
School started in some counties in Orange County. Kids will have back to school on Monday for it's the perfect time to make crosswalks, and the obligation drivers have when people are crossing.
I'm going to turn the volume up so you can hear it.
School started in some counties in Orange County. Kids will have back to school on Monday. For cops, it's the perfect time to make a point about crosswalks and the obligation drivers have when people are crossing the street legally in a crosswalk. Watch News Dave McDaniel was on hand as a slew of drivers found out the hard way.
The guy in the blue shirt's a cop trying to make a point by trying to safely cross the street. He ended up dodging cars.
You see? It was pretty obvious.
Operation Best Foot Forward has been in place for a few months. Over 1,600 warnings have been given out to people who did not stop with a person legally in the crosswalk. This was day 1 for actual tickets.
The way the law reads, once the pedestrian enters the crosswalk, people coming from either direction are obligated to stop, let him cross safely. If they don't stop, they get a $164 reminder.
There's no obligation to stop for that pedestrian as long as he's inside that crosswalk.
This driver done without flashing lights or a traffic signal. The walker was in the wrong. But a few drivers did pay attention, slowing, even stopping.
We need everybody to be on their best behavior and pay attention for the children that will be out and about.
Even in full uniform, Sergeant Bill said people whizzed right on by.
We don't want them to give it gas and see if they can beat the pedestrian. We want them to slow down and be able to stop in time to let the pedestrian safely cross. Southbound, blue Honda SUV, southbound, right lane, didn't even slow down.
In an hour and only 2 spots, cops wrote 64 tickets. With more cops available, they felt they could have written 100. In Orlando, Orange County, Dave McDaniel, Western News.
It's pretty alarming, right? That we have near misses like that every single enforcement operation. And every time they get one of these, and I provided you a handout of a tear sheet, and I have extras if anybody in the audience would like to see this. But what we do is we put on what's the law, and we try to illustrate. So that way people can see how to obey the pedestrian yield laws, how to stop for that crosswalk, how to wait, don't go around somebody if they've stopped, especially on a 2-lane facility or a 4-lane facility. So we try to illustrate what those very complicated driver yield laws mean. But we don't do the enforcement operations to hand out tickets. That's not the point. It is solely education. Because we know that somebody that gets pulled over is going to be upset, and they're going to tell at least 5 people about why they got pulled over. And that's education, right? And we want to spread that message. Good or bad, it's at least bringing in awareness of you need to stop and let the pedestrian cross the road. Part of our enforcement operations is, like I said, not going out and ticketing pedestrians or our drivers. It's really bringing the awareness, and that's through our media stories. So we have a very good relationship with all of our local media in the community, and they come out and they love to watch and showcase these enforcement operations. 1, for the footage that you just saw, but 2, for the educational fact, right? And that's how we partner with the community and get a bigger bang for our buck when it comes to educating drivers on that pedestrian yield law. But we not only stop there, we also share a lot of things on social media. We're very big on social media and try to put out and spread messages both through our enforcement and education campaigns, but also the things that the city might be doing. So if you have something coming up that's pedestrian safety related, complete street related, we will share that because we want the community to know that your elected officials hear you and want you to be safe as well. So we share all those positive, great stories, all the events that you guys have, all that good stuff. And so the program has been around actually for about 10 years. We celebrated our 10-year anniversary in April. And so to date, we've issued about 10,000 warnings and citations to drivers in the 3-county region. And we've done this at 504 details, so that means a single crosswalk that was enforced. So 504 crosswalks have been enforced. And that has, we've done this at over 200 crosswalks where we've collected data, enforced it. And what happens when we feel like a crosswalk gets to the point where it's got all the engineering and it's been enforced and we've educated and the driver yield rate's really high, we like to say 75%, 3 out of 4 cars stopping is pretty good here in Central Florida. We call that graduated. And so then we move it off the list and we find another one that needs some support and needs some help in the community. And we start all over again until your entire community is safe to walk and bike in. We've done over 689 presentations and events to date with an earned media value of over $6 million and a total of 1.6 million impressions. That's how many eyeballs have seen our educational message throughout that 10-year campaign. And so my ask for you today is to participate in the Best Foot Forward program, put your best foot forward, and then continue to invite Bike Walk Central Florida to community meetings, to events. We love to come and try to educate and share our message with our community as you guys continue to support projects and developments that encourage walking and biking. Thank you for being that champion for us. Supporting complete street projects like you already have been. But most importantly, tell your colleagues about the message, about the videos that you saw today, and then be a part of that mission and that vision and turn that car trip into a walking trip. Try to see if you can walk to get a grocery, go to the grocery store, or take your kid to school, or go run an errand. See if you can walk and bike and see how quickly, hopefully you'll understand some of the issues in your community and how easy it is to address those so that everybody from 6 to 60 can walk and bike comfortably, specifically in the city of Maitland, but of course in Central Florida overall. So thank you for allowing me to come here today and tell you about Best Foot Forward and Bike Walk Central Florida. I leave you with some information and also some links for more information on our website, and I am happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hannah. That was a really interesting presentation. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Oh, good. Hey, Emily, I was just wondering, because MAC and Metro Plan, these are also concerns of theirs. How do you guys, how do you work with them for the betterment of the community?
Absolutely. So Metro Plan is our largest funding partner for the Best Foot Forward program. So we work really closely with them and all of those groups to make sure that we're meeting those targets that they have. And we are very involved with all of their pedestrian and safety plans and studies that they do, making comments on behalf of communities and really trying to give the voice to those that walk and bike in the community. So we're very representative in Metro Plan.
Okay, great. And I'm not joking when I suggest this. I suggest you go to some of these bigger beach towns and deliver this, because when I go to the beach, I stop for everybody going to the crosswalk coming from the beach to the parking lots, and people just zoom by them. And so, watching that video from a couple years ago, I was like, they could probably get, in Ponce where I go, they could probably get 100 people a day doing that too.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
thank you.
That's all I have.
Has that intersection at Conway with the crossing, has that graduated yet? I used to live over near there, and I know that that was a death trap.
So that's a safety project that DOT is working on, and we give our data to DOT like for free, just here, have it, and how can we help? So we are working closely on that safety project, but we're still working on changing kind of some mindsets through DOT to try to get them to understand that it's a multiple modes of transportation they need to support versus just that vehicle, and that those policies are shifting, and so we're seeing that change, but we are constantly advocating for that in those safety projects.
Yeah, there's a lot of roads in Central Florida, aren't there, where we could definitely use some help to make it easier for pedestrians to get around. So thank you very much for your presentation. We really appreciate your time coming up here.
Thank you.
Tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, to move on our agenda, we're going to move on to public hearings. The first one is to adopt an ordinance. The ordinance was originally adopted on May 23rd, so we are rehearing this one. Lori, would you like to read the title, please?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maitland, Florida, authorizing the borrowing of money in the amount not to exceed $20 million to finance certain utility improvements approved by the city in its capital improvement program, establishing its intent to reimburse certain capital expenditures as described herein, with proceeds of future tax-exempt financings, providing for conflicts, providing for severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Mark, would you like to introduce the item, please?
Just briefly, as was discussed at the last meeting, by adoption of this ordinance, according to city charter, you're not actually borrowing money, you're just allowing us to move forward to consider borrowing in the future. So obviously for the utility projects we've been working on over the years and still have more laid out in the future. As each of those individual borrowings come forward, you'll be presented with a resolution to act on it individually.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, we'll open it up to the public if there's anyone from the public who would like to be heard on this issue.
Dale McDonald, 108 Tangelo Court. I can't be more pleased that we're willing to invest in ourselves and look forward to the opportunity. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wants to follow that? All right, we will close the public period.
Make a motion to adopt an ordinance appropriating borrowing up to $20 million in utility debt.
Thank you.
Can I see what I'll go ahead and second
All right.
Amen.
We have a motion, we have a second. Lori, can you read the roll, please?
Councilmember Wurzel?
Aye.
Councilmember Wild?
Aye.
Councilmember Guthrie?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Paul Harrison?
Aye. Okay. Okay, now we have number 2 and 3. These are also proposed ordinances. After public input, these are going to be transmitted to the State Land Planning Agency for review. Concluding the agency review, a second public hearing will be held for the adoption stage. And we have, let's see, Lori, can you please read the title?
An ordinance of the City of Maitland, Florida, amending the Maitland Comprehensive Development Plan 2035 pursuant to Florida statutes, Chapter 163, providing for authority, providing for adoption of a property rights element by including a new Chapter 9, which contains a goal and an objective and 4 policies, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Mr. Mathis, would you please introduce this to us?
We definitely do. Good evening, council. So this is our our property rights element. This is required by the state of Florida last year, or 2021. They required in the new House bill that every municipality adopts this property rights element, and they gave every municipality either by their next CDP amendment, their large-scale amendment, or by their scheduled evaluation appraisal report. So staff reviewed several templates from other jurisdictions as everybody's kind of putting one together, and ours is modeled after Orange County's, which has been approved by the state. It's the same reviewer, so there's not anticipating any issues with this being adopted. It does, as Lori read, include 1 goal, 1 objective, and 4 policies. This is basically, I'm not going to read it to you, but this is basically saying that we're going to respect in decisions, we're going to consider the private property rights of the people and individuals. And with that being said, how this moves forward is we wrote the amendment. DRC recommended approval back in April. P&Z on May 5th recommended unanimously approval of this. Tonight is the transmittal hearing. After this, it goes to the State Land Planning Agency, who will review it and then send it back to us with any comments, and then we'll come back to you with an adoption hearing, and then it's effective 31 days after adoption. So with that being said, staff recommends the council approve to transmit the CDP amendment, the property rights element, to the State Land Planning Agency, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for you?
No, but I'll make a motion.
Well, we need to have a public hearing first.
Okay.
Does
That's
anybody
right.
from the public wish to be heard on this item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Back to Vance.
All right. I'll make a motion for the council to approve and transmit the proposed CDP amendment 2022 ALU property rights element to the State Land Planning Agency.
Beautifully done. Second?
Sure. Second.
Meh. Okay. Lori, can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Wurzel,
Aye.
Councilmember Guthrie,
Aye.
Councilmember Wild,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hawkins.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Ordinance number 3 for the evening. Lori, can you read the title?
An ordinance of the City of Maitland, Florida, amending the Maitland Comprehensive Development Plan 2035 pursuant to Florida statutes, Chapter 163, amending the infrastructure, potable water and stormwater settlements, and open space conservation settlements to recognize the updated water supply facilities work plan, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
All right, back to Dan, please.
All right, again, this is also required by Florida statutes that we update our planning period anytime the water supply plan is updated. So the city recently completed the update for the 2021 to 2031 period. Our CDP currently reflects the older one, which was the 2018-2028 when we did that plan. So the proposed amendment merely just changes the dates of where it's found in the areas of the comp plan from the 2018 to 2028 to 2021 to 2031. This CDP amendment involves the infrastructure element as well as the open space element is where it's found. It's in a couple objectives, it's a few policies and a standard. So again, same process. It got unanimous approval from DRC and P&Z, and tonight after is the transmittal, and then the process is the same as the last one. So staff is recommending council approve to transmit this CDP amendment to the state planning agency. That'll be happy to answer any questions on this one.
Any questions for Dan? Okay, public period open on this issue. Closing the public period. And we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the transmittal of the proposed ordinance amending the city's comprehensive development plan 2035 to the State Land Planning Agency for review.
Hey, that was second.
Okay, Louis.
Councilmember Wild?
Aye.
Councilmember Wurzel?
Aye.
Councilmember Guthrie?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Paul Harrison?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dan. Old business. Mark, do you have anything for us this evening?
No, ma'am.
Then we will move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody wish to remove any items 3 through 7 on the consent agenda? Okay. Does anybody from the public wish to be heard on items 3 through 7? Seeing none. Lori, can you call the roll, please?
I'll make that motion to approve the consent agenda. Which you're calling the roll on.
Thank you.
Kind of think we had a second.
Yeah, I was the one who made the original motion on it.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. We're there.
No.
That's how tight we are. We're just
We're
going
just working so fast, I'm
Yeah.
already moving us
I
through.
I felt that.
Thanks,
Yeah.
thank you, appreciate that.
Aye.
Councilmember Wurzel?
Aye.
Councilmember Guthrie?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Paul Harrison?
It's really a lot of words to say, so I'm just trying to cut it down for you there. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now we are on to the second page. Look at that. Public period. Does anyone from the public wish to stand up and give us their thoughts on the world?
No, it's a race. Who's going to get there first?
Come on.
You sure?
All right.
So you're fine.
Good evening, I'm Stacy Larson. I'm the director of the Maitland Public Library. I meant to do this 3 weeks ago, but I took a vacation to Iceland and I brought my COVID as a souvenir, so I missed that meeting, first in 5 years. So the important thing that I wanted to tell you 3 weeks ago that I will tell you tonight is it is summer. And that means that at the public library, we are in the midst of our summer reading program. This year, for the first time, we have introduced an SRP for teenagers. So we have 4 separate age groups, 0 to 6, 7 to 12, 13 to 18, and grown-ups. All of them have amazing grand prizes that you can win just by reading and participating in library activities. For the first time, we'll be tracking all of that through Beanstack. So if you are the parent of a school child here in Orange County, you may well have used Beanstack. It works the same way, but it's for us. So track all of your reading every day, track the activities you attend at the library, enter your tickets to win. You could get exciting prizes. If you are a kid, it includes things like Kindle Fire tablets and games and puzzles. If you're a grown-up, there are different ones, including tickets to the Enzian. There's a gift subscription to the Friends of the Library. So there's lots of great prizes. You can see them all on our website, maitlandpubliclibrary.org. And I want to pitch Thursday's program in particular. Thursday at 2 o'clock, our kids program, the Save the Manatees organization, is going to be at the library. So please come to the library at 2 o'clock, learn all about our gentle giants here in Florida, and know that our youth librarians are deeply in love with manatees. So this will be a very special program for them. So please come out for summer. You can see all of the activities on our website.
Thank you, Stacy. Are they bringing a real manatee?
Sadly, they are not going to bring a real manatee, but the Audubon Society is just casually going to stop by periodically over the summer with a real eagle. So Francis came by on Thursday. It's not a set program. This is just going to be dumb luck. Francis is training a new handler, so they need to go out in public and just hang out with the public. So at random times, you may encounter a bald eagle at the library.
Stacy, it's been 5 years.
I have been director for 5 years and 22 days.
Congratulations.
Time's flying, man. Time's flying.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you.
I loved started reading when I was a kid. Those programs, get the book. folks get the info kit.
Dale McDonald, 108 Tangelo Court. First of all, I wanted to thank Scott Howard and the job that the school board has done with us with a brilliant solution to a $300,000 blessing that the city had received several years ago. Fended off some personal interest of others and found a way to put that $300,000 to the benefit of 3 public schools in this city into infinity. And it's working exactly as planned. Great deal. Scott, Sharon was magnificent in the formulation of that. And secondly, Emily Hanna, and Vance hasn't heard as much of it yet. We've seen them a lot. Best Foot Forward program in Metroplan has been well received. We should hear more about it and participate in any way with it in any way we can. Lastly, but not lastly, anybody miss seeing a silver Ford Explorer in the parking lot tonight? I know I did. And the hole that's left is palpable. The void that's not easily replaceable. And I wanted to pay as much tribute to as I can to our late city manager. Those that have been around here for a while. Cliff, I know you know what I mean. That it leaves a hole, leaves a mark. That will continue to leave a mark. So she's been everything from friends to all of us, best friend maybe at times of mine. And I can't adequately communicate the value of late night, hours long phone calls and the ability to communicate candidly and on every topic. We'll miss her dearly. And many of us already have and will continue to in the future. And I'm sure we will try to find some way to adequately recognize her contributions to this city in the foreseeable future. Thanks.
Thank you, Gail. Appreciate your words tonight. Does anybody else wish to speak on public period?
Good afternoon, Arthur Franklin Hall, 455 Amanda Lane. I'm a little out of breath. I just left a meeting at Winter Park. So, my condolences also to Sharon. She would be missed.
She's watching. She's watching.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I am concerned about the fire that was at the Summit Charter School Saturday. Has anything been discussed about that? I know I've called 2 council members to mention it. The fire, has anything been discussed about that? Oh, the fire that was at the Summit Charter School? Well, in the past, I have spoken in regards to fire hydrants, and that was it's on one fire hydrant there. They had to run, I think they ran one from Kingston Lexington, and we were wondering if anything would happen before. That's the second time that school was burned. It's been about 20 years, and it was burned also by children. I have called the Winter Park Police Department. I have spoken out in council, and I have even spoken to the owner about those children going over, smoking drugs, sex, everything in that school. And it's no longer there. And the graffiti that is on those walls on the train is the same graffiti that is on that building. I walked around the building yesterday to see how it was. And it is disgraceful the way that lawn was not even maintained. And I have called several times in regards to that. It was a hazard. And now that it's gone, the gates was locked, so I don't know how the firearms got in, but I did call Channel 2, Channel 9, and I called also newspapers to report what was happening there. I have been in Maitland for over 40 years. My home has been there for over 30 years. And that subdivision of that little neighborhood has been neglected for many years. And as I received a letter from the council telling me that the roads, we're still on dirt roads since 1887. And you have been getting funds, tearing up other roads over in Montgomery, resurfacing, tearing up sidewalks. But for my thousands of dollars that I pay each year, I would like for the city to honor that neighborhood for the correct infrastructure. Thank you. Oh, I didn't give my address. I did. Yes, I did. I tell you I'm running.
Thank you, Ms. Granville. Appreciate you coming in tonight. With regards to the fire, our understanding is an ongoing investigation
Yes.
by the state fire marshals, and we don't have any more information on that at this time. But thank you very much for addressing it and coming to talk to us tonight. Okay, if there's no one else who wishes to be heard, we will close the public period. And we will move on to decision items. We have one decision item this evening. It is an ordinance. Lori, could you please read the title?
An ordinance of the City of Maitland, Florida, amending the Maitland City Code of Ordinances, deleting the remaining portions of Chapter 5, Article 6 of the Code relating to signs that became moot upon the adoption of the updated Land Development Code, providing a severability clause, providing for conflicts, and providing for effective dates.
Okay. And would you like to give an explanation of what the changes are?
Yes, the Land Development Code, the original ordinance that was brought back to us a few months ago, which was Ordinance 1396, its intent when it was written was to take out Chapter 5 in its entirety, and there were sections that were spelled out in there, and just by simple error, the Appendix A and the purpose section were not listed. It was caught, and we're just doing this as cleanup.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Lori, Mark, on this issue? Okay. Then we will open the public period and close the public period. If we don't have any further discussion, can I have a motion, please?
I would do that. I would move to introduce an ordinance further amending Chapter 5 by deleting the remaining portions of Article 6 of the Code of Ordinances and setting a public hearing date for June 27, 2022.
And a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Lori, can you call the roll?
Councilmember Guthrie,
Aye.
Councilmember Wurzel,
Aye.
Councilmember Wild,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hall-Harrison.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Our city manager's report, please.
Not a lot. I've gotten the ranking of the strategic priorities back from a few of you, just waiting on the rest of those. Jerry and I are moving forward, putting together the budget based upon the discussion we had at the last meeting where you let us know where those priorities lie. But if we get those back, I can get those on the next agenda just so we can sort of nail that down as we move forward into the budget workshops.
Okay. Anything else? Perfect? No?
That's it.
Thank you, Mark. Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, ma'am. Council, I think at the last meeting that attended, I think either Jake or Patrick, you got the briefing about the status of the Peacock Ford case, and that the case had again been dismissed and was up with a leave to amend. And I think you probably were also told that it would be very likely that if they brought another amended complaint with the Burt Harris claim, that it would be dismissed with prejudice. Well, on the one hand, they got smart because they filed their amended complaint today, and we are no longer being sued by Burt Harris violations. There are 3 counts remaining. They're all based on declaratory relief, so there's no attorney's fees, there's no damages available, and I'll just say they're weak counts. putting that aside, the significance of not suing us for Bert Harris, as we are now a prevailing party under the statute, because they voluntarily didn't pursue it, so they will be in a position of having to reimburse our attorney's fees and costs. I've already instructed Jacob to start preparing a motion for fees as a prevailing party. I don't know if they accept that reality or didn't realize that reality, but that's the reality. The more significant fact, and the one I wanted to bring up to you, is that one of the things that Mayor Lowndes had discussed with me early on is the possibility that if what they really wanted, meaning Peacock Board, was a more liberal standard for repairs, or perhaps a more liberal percentage by which they could build back after catastrophe. Now it's, for both of those numbers, it's 10% of the tax assessment value per year, and 50%, if it's more than 50% destroyed, then they couldn't build it back. So we said, okay, well maybe, though no, obviously we'd have to go through council, but you know, if you needed a higher repair limit or a higher build back limit, we could work those out in the context of a Bert Harris settlement, because in Bert Harris, one of the nice features about it is you have a lot of liberality to do things specific to that property owner that you do not have to worry about with everybody else. And so, after the last dismissal, I sent an email to council for Peacock Court saying, hey, you know what's going to happen next time. Maybe you should get with your client and see if you want to use this opportunity before it goes away for good to get a deal done. Well, today was the answer. So now we can't do those things. I don't understand it. Perhaps one day I'll be find out that I'm the dummy, but that's what happened.
Okay. Thank you for that update. Anybody have any council reports? No? All right. Okay. Well, then we are done for the evening. Thank you very much, everybody. We're adjourned.